So we were doing in URL. Yesterday was a little bit complicated. I think even for me at times I sort of have to adjust my queries every time I use in URL. One of the things that I wanted to mention here before we move to the next one, which is in-text. In-text is what we should be starting with ideally. But I was looking at some of the queries earlier and trying to see if there's any of these that are worth mentioning, and at least to the extent that we can just discuss it without actually using it in the browser. So let me check this. See this one, the query number 9, as you could see that it says bbc.com. It's an in URL. You've got in URL news. All these words are there. But I don't think that there is a need for me to put bbc.com inside of the quotation marks. Why is because it is with the .com and without any gaps in between letters. There shouldn't be a problem for the entire term to be considered mandatory return with in URL. So I've just cleaned this up, and let's see. There was hmm. See, one of the searches we do with the one that I just highlighted. Let me see if I can bring it up a little. Let me separate this one. Number 18. This query is most useful with in URL. As you can see that with in URL, I have used the extensions like edu and gov. There is no need for putting a dot. So if any of the links that I'm looking for that has a topic that includes these two words, information technology, and then the word research, which can be, um, which is an optional word for the search. The important thing is that these two, gov and edu, and even other sources that I think we can use. What are the other extensions like MIL, maybe, or maybe what else are there? ORG, let's say. So if I make this query work in this manner, what am I telling the search is to find basically the information that's coming from more of reliable sources or reliable links, generally educational institution, government agencies, military and orgs, normally they are considered to be more authentic as a source. So I can apply in URL with these using OR operator. So it is going to give me information coming on this topic from all these sources as an option. Let's try this. So I got .gov.edu. The word information technology is there. The word research is showing up as well. So this is another useful way of using in URLs. That's what I wanted to make sure that I cover that so you know the best utilization of it. If there's anything else, yeah, over here you could see that we have number 1 and number 2. Let's look these up separate. In one we have tried to use the singulars and plurals against in URL, so that we're not going to miss out on these three variants of blogs. Um, and you can see that I have used OR, and this should work fine as well. I mean, we don't have to like there is an alternative to this. Let me just show you what people do occasionally when they use in URL. They try to make it appear like this, where instead of or, they put in URL second time, and then they do in URL again. I believe that this is a mistake. I don't think that this should work. Or is the only operator that we can use to allow for the search to not enforce any of these, but rather to choose singulars and plurals as a choice. But in this one, see, it is forcing it to have all three different words, singular and plural, and then we've got blogging, and there could be many more. But if you're going to enforce it and try to use in URL several times for something that doesn't make sense to exist in the same link, then it's not going to work. So this we have to be mindful of, is that when we are using second instance of in URL, the wordings itself should make sense. Like in URL means that it is definitely have to be a set of instruction that tells the search that the URL should have this word. But then to say that URL should have another word that is the plural of it, it doesn't make sense. It's more than unlikely that more than likely that you would have the plural form of it in the URL. So this is incorrect. We don't want to do that. Let's look at this one, the query. Okay, so now the question is, can we use in URL with the or sign instead of just putting it as separate words to make it work? Like, could number 2 be an alternative to, let's say, 1 dot to a right here? That's the question. So you want me to try this and see if it works? This versus the way a is set, that will tell us, give us a little bit more hands-on to see how it's going to work. In URL blog, in URL blogs, and it should work, I think, without any problem. So now that we have put the or sign and we have used in URL several times, giving it a choice, it would just work fine. We got 164,000 results. Now instead, if I just remove in URL here and I just ask it to use three wordings as a choice, let's see what it's going to do. It should also work fine, but I just want to compare the results which are shown here as 164,000 against a second way of writing the same query, 712,000 versus 164,000. So basically what has happened is the word has opened up the um, choice which starts to look at it as if these two are to be searched not necessarily in the URL, but probably it's going to find it in the description part or in the the headings, the title of it. So it's just going to search through every different tag inside of a web page, not necessarily in the link alone. That's why we have 712,000 results versus 164,000 over here. No, this was different one. Let me, this one. Right? This was 160. So in URL, if we want to be more precise and we want to force it to be found or to be compared as an option within the URL part, then we would use in URL more than once. Whenever we are putting the or operator, it should function totally fine without any problem. Right? Okay. So on the other hand, if you look at the word facial recognition, it is put within quotations. What this one means is that this needs to be found in the search result, like the overall result, but not necessarily inside of the URL part. Unless we wrote it like this, it would um, it would be showing in the URL as well. So if I did like this, I should find it in the URL. Facial recognition, this would have facial recognition as well. So all of these will have facial recognition in it. I guess this is pretty much covering everything in the in URL. If you have a question, something in your mind that you want me to explain better, you think that this is sufficient for you to get a hand grip on this operator, eh? Now let's move on to in-text and see how in-text is going to operate. Um, the in-text is a more in-depth search operator, and let me check if my recording is on. Just hold. Is my recording on? Okay. Don't want to make that mistake. All right. So the in-text operator, let me see where it is querying first of all, just to show it to you what it's going to look for, and in different areas of the textual content of the indexed page. For example, let's just look at this one. I ran a query in text with internet research specialist, 3 words, and the results were showing in the description part of the snippet that got returned. The description part may be considered as uh, the type of information that is extracted from a meta tag area, that is from the header section in the description tag. But there is one ambiguity which I want to clarify, is that whenever we are using in-text operator, it is not particularly just looking at what's in the meta description tag in the header portion. As you could see that this is the header portion and it is the meta tag called description. See, this information is being pulled and shown here. But in-text covers not only this meta tag in particular, but it also reads through rest of the body of the text that's encoded with operators, with the tags such as h1, paragraph, time, and all these that we know of from previous lectures. So you know that it is actually running through all of these tags and reading the information inside of it. At the same time, it is also reading the meta tag area of the header part of the page itself. And this is little bit different from what in title and in URL does, because in URL generally is confined to the href tag, which is in the header portion, the top portion, and in title is also the information in the header portion, whereas a part of information that is used with which is read as being inside of the header tag is the meta description tag, in addition to the body tags, which is all different ones, which I just showed you. But coming back to this diagram, this illustration, you could see that the description will contain, in this case it is pulling it from the meta area or the meta description. So this is the query which actually particularly looked for information in the description area and found this. And then there could be other snippets that you would see on the page, which is grabbing information about the word matched inside of the body of the text as well. So you would see a whole list of it. But this example is just to show you the part which is collected from the meta tags only. Um, let's just go a little bit more deep and see another useful illustration. Let me just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so you can see that when we did the same search, the other areas that it picked up the tags or the textual content from besides the header, see this is header part, this area is the header meta tags, and from this side of meta description they were able to pull the information or read the information inside of description, and then it started to read other tags like the main captions or sub captions or headings h1 h2 and all this that is inside all these words inside of the h2 tag. Similarly, under that you could see that there is more information embedded in the paras. This P stands for the paragraphs. In fact, the heading over here says web search certifications, training and education. And then the paragraph contains all these words right here. Researchers owe it to themselves to seek structured certification programs and so on. And these are the tags it is reading. So that's just to show you where the information is being matched with your keywords when you use in text. Another example of in text is shown with the result right here. So if you are the user not looking at the code and you want to search for something that has a heading like shown right here in h2 tag, the heading would be web search certification for instance, and you want to use in text with it. So in text web search certification is what you have used at the top right here. The result came back and in the description tag it showed web search certification, not in the title area, not in the url, but in the description part. And this is pulled within text. If you try the same thing with in title or in url, you probably won't find these wordings. Okay, so to know the type of information that you think may not exist in the links or may not be part of the title area, then always use in text. In text query is more safe and it is more extensive way. So that's the reason we use in text mostly. Let's see what's this here. Okay, there is this illustration, but I think it is hmm. So if the paras are in the deeper layers, let's suppose that this is the para inside of a link or one of the pages of our website, and this is not considered to be the home page or the main heading. You can think of internet research education and training as a subheading, or it could be a caption. And this area has some of the wordings, as you could see that on top there is this internet research education and training is in h2 tag, for example. Then h3 tag would have information that can be read right under it. Our education system is a combination of whatever. And then beneath or under that you could see that we've got the para right here that says the use of internet based information. So all these three elements or these three different tags contain the content that is shown here as a query with in text using internet research, education, and training as one search phrase within quotes. To find these and putting it within quotes, the moment we execute that, we see that it has done a search and found with reference to the code that you see right here. Let's call it query 3, 4, and 5. So it has picked up the wordings from inside of the tag called h2 shown right here. Then it has picked up the paragraph content and search for the same wordings that we or the same search terms. Then in 5, it also looked up for the area that had information in a tag called strong, which means that it has a value for the search to index it in the first place, and therefore this tag is considered as well. So it is picking it up from all these different areas. um, Let me see how it is set. So 4, query 4. I think when it says query 4, it is picking it up from this tag or the paragraph tag. So query 4 is picked up. Then we've got query 5 designed. Let's suppose we picked up something that we remembered, but it's not a complete sentence, but part of it. For instance, designed for knowledge professionals. It is not a complete phrase in the sense that you don't quite remember exactly the same wordings or the entire length of the search phrase but you remember some of the wordings which don't complete the sentence. So it could be partial sentence, like designed for knowledge professionals. Obviously it shows from the way it's written it's incomplete. So in text query will find rest of the para or all the text around it. This makes it very useful. If we had used instead of in text in title, it won't have worked. So let me just try these queries because I think let's start with this one. Try this. Intex Internet Research, Education and Training. So this might be the caption, and here it is: Internet Research, Education and Training. Now let me try the same thing. This is correct. It was not inverted open, it was inverted close, this quotation mark. So you could see it made the difference. You have to be very careful. Sometimes we don't get to see if it's open or closed. It just is weird, it just attaches it to the colon, and the open quotation mark just sort of goes the other way. Okay, so I'm going to show you, um, if we had used instead of in text, if I use in title or in URL, what's going to happen. So if this same information, if I want to use in title and think that it can be found in the title area somewhere of web pages, it should show up internet research education. So there is a title available, or it is actually captured. But supposing it was something of the sort that is slightly different, which is an incomplete sentence we were just talking about. Let's suppose it was this query: designed for knowledge professionals. So I don't think that this could be part of the title because the way it's written, or not considered to be a title. So if I say in text, it's fine, but let's suppose I write in title. Mm, well, the title designed for knowledge professionals. Some of the pages has it, so it showed up, but in the title is very limited number of results. Only if these wordings are there, which was the one that I was just looking at. That is part of the sentence. Anyway, so let me return back to the same one. So in title, I've used design for knowledge professionals. I got three results. But supposing it is the kind of sentence or the kind of phrase that is normally found in the deeper text as part of a sentence, then I'm going to change it. Instead of in title, I would write then in text. I'm sure I'll get a lot more results because now it's going to do a deeper search in text. I got 2270 results versus 3 results. So maybe some of the titles or title tags of some of the pages which are far less than what I imagine it wouldn't be there, but there are 3 sites that has it in the title part. But generally, depending on the kind of wordings you've used which don't belong to the title, will be queried with the in text. So you know which one to use when you're doing some deep searches. On the other hand, we have a situation where we have long sentences which are incomplete, like this one, for instance, lack the proper training and education in performing expert level online search. When we are doing search for literature or part of the wordings which you remember that could be coming from, let's say, part of partially from the paragraph or a part of the paragraph, but you don't know exactly where it's missing all the wordings. We're not talking about using the asterisk here. We're talking about knowing a part of the wordings. So in text, in this case, what should this do? You can see that the wordings are such that it wouldn't be like a complete phrase. Lack the proper training and education means something is missing from before the word lack, because it shows a partial continuation of a sentence. So if I use in title, I probably won't be able to get this. Um, but within text, I should be able to make it work. So let's suppose we try this one and we do in text partial training and education in performing expert level online. And if I just enter this, I'm able to get 5 results, and actually I'm able to pull it from the deeper layers of the web page, not coming from the description part itself or the meta description, but coming from let's say other paras in the body of text. So let me just open this link and show you where it's exactly coming from. So from this page, and lack the proper, okay, lack the proper. So it is not from the header part of a site called Labs Explorer. They have actually picked up our content and they're showing it somewhere on their own website, but this is their header area. So the description part is not coming from the meta description at the top right here, but rather from the content part or the body of the text in the middle, and it has picked this up. Now, if I have to find the same thing using in title or in URL obviously is not going to work because it's a very long wording. But let's try it with in title and in. um, in URL. So if I do in title, let's see if it exists in the title. No, not likely, because usually the title area doesn't have very long sentences or large number of words, and it is not a complete title. Then if we do in URL, still it's not going to show up. I'm pretty sure in URL, again nothing comes up. So you can see that if it is a deeper text search, we are going to use in text. Lot of times we mixed in text with in title, and we also like to use site or the domain name to confine our search or to make it more precise. So in text is a favorite search query when you're doing in-depth search for someone. Let me see, I think we were doing some of these examples earlier. Let me check. In I'm going to close this one for now, and I'm going to try to use some of the in-text examples. The only caveat in this is that whenever you're doing in-text and you don't use the quotation marks, what would be the outcome? The outcome would not be that great. You'll get large number of search results, but usually when we use in-text, we like to put them within quotation marks to um, make the search look for those wordings in the sequence, in a certain sequence. So if it is, and generally it is more than a few words, so it is at least three plus words we use within text. And here it is saying that whenever the search terms are placed within quotes alongside in text, make sure to include exact words and ensure proper singular and plurals, must include proper and exact placement of verbs, adjectives. So basically it's saying that whatever you write in within quotation mark has to be the correct search phrase. In text, here we've got in text online business intelligence session. Observe that all three terms used within it are chosen from three different sections. Okay, so a lot of times we get our search results, which I want to show you as an example, that appears like this. As you can see in this one, in this snippet, you see that when you've done in text like this one right here with two different lines that you remember, like you may remember like a few lines from the first para and then the next few lines from the second para somewhere, but there are a lot of words in between, and for the search to deliver that in the description part as highlighted text that says that they have found the result you were looking for, it pulls those pieces of information from different paras, and it cannot put all those paras or wordings here in this area. So what it does is that it creates like these three dots, as if there is a continuation or there is different paras from which it is picked up. So let's suppose internet research specialist, these three words are picked up from the first para, and then another para in the page talks about the other part, which is online research and business, whatever the original query was. I believe it was a longer query, so it picked up the word from para 2 with the dots. Three dots here means now it has picked up this piece or the second part of what you queried from another para, and this is not the same para as the one before. And then there is a para 5 here, but let's just let's try to run this query first. Let me just look at it, what the query is originally. So I'm just going to run this in the browser, go to the page and open the source code to see where it's bringing this from. So let's suppose that this is the query, and I'm also going to open up the notepad to So this is the search query. I want to pick up these three words from the textual part or the body of text. I want to pick up the other part which I remember as online research and business intelligence as part of some of the wordings that go around it in can be found on the same page where the term internet research specialist exists, and also the term CIRS certification should also be there. So let me try this and see if I can find mainly these two terms or these two phrases: online research and business intelligence, and this one is what I want to find in the text. So I'm going to go back here and run this query to see what comes out. I got this search results, and see what I am seeing right here. It says internet research education and training program. Not anything, none of these are showing up in the title. Nothing in the URL, but in the description part you could see it is showing that it found these three words, and then another para it found these words, and then another para it found this one. So let me just click on this and show you where it's coming from the code side. So this was basically the page that it found the information on, and you could see that internet based in, let's just open up the HTML. This is where it's going to show us where exactly these wordings are coming from. So coming back to this, let's see the first one, internet research specialist. Where is this wording in the source code? Control F. So it picked it up from here. It picked it up from here. So there are a lot of these wordings in the page that it pulled for us. So internet research specialist, where is this? So I'm going to do Control F and see. So this is one para that has these wordings. Then there is the next set, which is online research and business intelligence. Where is this one? Um, so this is another para which is different from this one, which has the wording internet research specialist. On the same page, it is coming from another para right here, and this could be, let's suppose this is a this could be the main heading. Then you've got subheadings, and another set of headings, corporate programs, and under this you see this text. But it had identified this page to have the wordings separate from the previous ones, which is online research and business intelligence. So it picked it up. What else is there? CIRS certification. So this should also be there in the results. CIRS certification. Where is CIRS certification? Let me just do this. Where is it? So anyway, so this page has it all. If it is collected it from all different areas or different paras, different headings, and because of that, and it cannot pick up all the wordings that that's surrounding it. So Online research intelligence business, if it was just this one single term, it would show up in the description because it would be able to cover few extra words, so it's going to accommodate that and show it like this, perhaps, but with the highlighted portion of online research and business intelligence in the snippet part. But when it has collection of it coming from several different paragraphs, it's going to show a separation between paragraphs by denoting it with three dots that says it's coming from three different areas. So let's just go back to this again, so and it is described very well in the notes, so you can check it from there. um, Now the description comes in different forms and formats. It is not consistently described as typically presented with X number of words or so many words, or so many lines that you see in the snippet. So there are different types of snippets that get returned, or which is what's pulling information from the text and showing here. So as an example, we are running a query in text, let's say Bart Simpson, and we see in the search results it's not coming from the same page. All of these snippets are collected separately from different um, you know uh, different snippets in different SERPs. So the collection is only to show you that the description part may be different depending on how the search engine will accommodate this information, right? Now let's look at the query in text Bart Simpsons, for instance. So we've got a type of snippet that is showing it like this. See right here, it is showing more information like voiced by, and few extra pieces of information are shown. This is called rich text, or rich snippet, basically giving you extra pieces of information, and we call this paragraph featured rich snippet. Okay, the other snippets that are shown, or the box that is shown, is called related questions. They will show up, and this is also a result of using in text. Then another rich text snippet is shown right here that has a rating, and you could see that these are only two lines, okay, which is showing it differently from the first one. It has three lines in it, more words in it. So the question is, why just two lines? And but all we can do is just use our way of expressing, like, or to convey the fact that these description parts are different and they're named differently because of the format they show. And these are like different formats that are explained with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is a news text snippet also, which is this one. As you could see that it is bringing it from the news source Vanity Fair. And if it is a news source, normally it has the date somewhere, or even if it's coming from YouTube, it has the upload date. Similarly, you've got social media snippet that is queried also. So those snippets are bringing the description formats, which is not typical, which is different variants of it. So as we were talking about, information collected from different paras of the same page, we might as well just not skip the fact that those description areas may be having a form or a format such as these. So these are different variants. It is also coming from Facebook that we call social media snippet. And you could see that these are all different ones, like the number of words are different, their layout is different, how it is separated based on the logic they create for the set of information, or this based on the source of information. If it is coming from Facebook and it is got some video that's shared, it's telling about season, it's telling about other things like mean, I don't just the variants of it. So you could see that if it's a video snippet, it has the date over here uploaded by, and that information is there, and so on and so forth. So it just sort of creates, and then different characters, videos, images, multimedia, top stories. So this is coming from news snippets, and this is coming a little bit different. But what you see right here on top, it's not really considered the heading part. It is the textual part that has some sort of heading, but not the title of the snippet. So if you do in text, um, this news is coming up, but this is the title of the story, not really the title coming from the header part or the meta tag. But without worrying about that, if you're doing in text, you get all these formats. But if you do in title, you normally don't get these different formats. Okay, so in text is what brings all these different flavors of the descriptions for us to look at. It's a lot of different types of product snippet, question snippets, definition snippets, book snippets, related snippets, all of them. This part that is in gray color is always the description, or where the in text is highlighting your wording. Excuse me. Okay, now we are going to do some searches with in text and see some of the ways that we can utilize it. Coral bleaching, geophysics. Okay, let's do this after the break. I'm just going to cut our lecture a little bit short today. So I might just be like 30 minutes after. We'll catch up later. I just have some commitments and something I got to finish up today before I leave my office. So we'll catch up with the time that we are not able to cover today. Today I have a lot of things to cover and to finish up. Um, okay, so yeah, I mean, let's just do this. We have about an hour's worth of lecture that we need to do. Um, Let me see if I can finish it up all together today. Because then on Monday I want to start with some of the other operators which are less frequently used but are important. And then I want to start with the complex search queries on Monday as well. So let's just try to finish the in text, and then we want to do what is left out. Let's see. We want to do the operators which are shown in the initial slide we were looking at. So from this slide, you could see that we have done in title, in text, in URL, and file type. Now I want to be able to do, or the ones that I intend to finish up are this one, related, source, link, site. So source, related, and link are not very long. There's just some utilization of or the reason why we use this. But we don't have to be very creative about any of those that are related to the source or searching for the source of information, because they don't work really with any other operator. So they're pretty much absolute operate. So not a whole lot of um, examples to work with. Domain is something that we will have to finish up. Before and after is just a date range. These ones, date range, are retired. Cache is they use it as a technology, but we don't really cover a whole lot with cache because it's not very useful for us. Image size we don't want to worry about. Around we have covered already. A static we have covered, so not much left on advanced search. And then when we start with the complex search queries, there's a lot of them, and we will need to do a lot of practice by using hands-on practical examples in the browser. We have a search query here. It's on page, what's the page number? It's on page 61, and this is another way of writing something when you're using in text and you want to give it a choice of words to be fetched. You can write it like this, but better to write it with the quotation marks if you're not sure of it, because in text is going to try and match the words in the same sequence. But if you're not sure of the sequence of words, you can always leave it open outside of the quotation marks. But most important is that you use the or operator. If you're not sure if these three wordings are correct or these three wordings are correct, either one of them, the best thing to do is to use the or in between so that it finds it in the textual part of the body of that page and not anywhere else. So it's not going to look at different areas of the page. Instead, it is focused on the body of text. And we have written this one like this and the other one, but between both of these, you could see that there is one word, geophysics, that's repeatedly used. Unless I put this within quotation, like in 15 right here, I would rather make this query look slightly different, and I would try to make it appear like, let's put this one here. I think I would just remove this geophysics from here, cut this, and use geophysics only once. And better still, I'll just put this within quotation marks so that coral bleaching and coral discoloration are two different sets of search terms that can be found in the textual part with the given a choice of or. And then geophysics could be something that can be applied unless we want this to be enforced. We can always put this within quotation marks as well. Okay. So this could be another way of refining your search query. I could probably do it even better if I make it appear geophysics or geophysical. So this way I'm giving a choice to the search of finding the word geophysics or geophysical with relationship to either coral bleaching or coral discoloration, but these are going to apply in the body of text, and this one will get attached to it if somehow the either of these words are to be found somewhere on that page with reference to coral bleaching or coral discoloration. Um, I mean, if you run this query, you will find that there is always, you know, these two words like geophysical or geophysics used with relationship to any one of them, and more so with coral bleaching versus coral discoloration, because these are some of the type of information that could very easily be found in research or research papers. We can even make it better by adding another operator file type and try to find it in the PDF. So we can make it look like this. And if we want to make it even more precise, we can use the operator site. And where would it be found? Let's try this one first. See what it does. All the PDFs, in the PDF, it found it in the body of text. The word geophysical is apparently more preferred. So we didn't miss out on the outcome or the results that otherwise with just the word geophysics may have been missed, even though they both mean the same thing. So we used this option, and for sure we got geophysical. We've got coral bleaching as more prevalent compared to coral discoloration. So we didn't lose much of the search results, and it has given us better choice. If we did just geophysics, we would get less results. We got 31,000 here. We got 9,950. So geophysics is there for sure, except that it has given us less results. So sometimes when we want more results in the textual part, we try to give it more options as far as the words. So we can use the derivatives of geophysics, like geophysical and so on. But what else? So coral discoloration isn't showing up much. So supposing we just needed the coral discoloration and we don't want to use or, let's see if we find any results there. We only found three results, so it's very much narrowed down. Um, so the scientific word for coral discoloration that is used more frequently is coral bleaching, seems like, because we only got three results. We want to expand our search further. We're going to remove PDF and find even more results, 1160 for coral discoloration. So we all of a sudden extended that search. Um, and Another thing that you will notice is that sometimes the search on its own, when it is attempting to find something that has to do with the stemming or lemmatization function, or the artificial intelligence is going to bring synonyms and something similar. So it switched the words, um, geophysics with geology. Uh, so you can find other variants of the words as well. So geology is used here instead of geophysical. So this is these are different ways in which you can use in text, and there could be so many different ways or different reasons for us to use in text, and it is all shown here as examples. um, let's see if we can finish up a little bit more. Let's try out cite operator. Might as well cover this. Cite is when you're restricting your search to a certain domain. So whenever you're using cite with a colon, always use it with the complete domain name. So if you use aofirs.org, it is going to look for the domain. If you are just going to write AOFIRS without dot and extension given to it, it won't work. This is, the requirement. The only exception is that when you're looking for a site, let's suppose we take this example and we apply it here, as So now suppose I'm looking for a domain that is just ORGs, like all ORGs. So what I could do is just put dot and ORG and it would still run it. If you don't, let me try this one first. Let's try this. Able to find 2180 results all coming from .org. See this extension .org is there, so it's coming from different organizations. Similarly, I can do .edu as well. But if I don't put it as an extension or I put XYZ, let's see what it's going to do. Well, it's guess what? People are using extension XYZ also. That's a news. Yeah, so anything that is not considered an extension or the primary domain or there are different levels of domain. So there are secondary domain names like .biz, as you saw, XYZ also exists. So unless you have used the correct nomenclature for the extension that are actually considered part of the domain, it's not going to show up. So that's the only caveat or the requirement. Um, if you want to get rid of some of the websites that you don't need to be showing in your search results, like for CIRS certification, I don't want it to be coming from the AOFIRS.org domain. I can always use a minus sign with site and a colon. And AOFIRS should not. First, let's just see how many we get with the site AOFIRS with CIRS certification. Let's suppose we got 1790, and if I don't want the domain to restrict its findings or its snippets containing aofirs.org, I will use a minus sign to ensure that at least this should not come from AOFIRS. If I use a minus right here, it's not going to show it from aofirs.org. So none of these results are coming from aofirs.org. I can see others who have used my CRS certification as occurring on their website or showing somewhere else. So I know that there are others that are using the same wordings or same keywords. So this works really nicely when I'm looking for my competitors or my partners or others who have used CRS certification other than aofirs.org. Okay, see, can we use site for finding information from two different sites at once? That could be a question. So let's try another URL that has more than one instance of using the site, as if we want two different sites to show results from. So I'm going to write it like this as an example. Let's suppose I want it to be coming from pinterest.com as well as coming from site or aofirs.org. Let's see if it's going to work. It probably won't, but let's see, because there has to be an or, because these are both absolute commands. Yes, it won't work is because site colon is an absolute command, and it is basically instructing the search to find it from find those wordings like CRS certification from this specific website. But when we put two websites, we are basically forcing the search to find it from both of these sites, but being as absolute command, and unless we give it a choice for the search to find it between these two websites, it's not going to work. So this is something that you will remember as a rule. If I use the or, it should make it happen with two websites to find it from either one of these, as opposed to finding it from both of these or restricting it to uh, two different sites. So giving it a choice with or, I'm able to find 2650 results. On the other hand, if I want something to be found from Pinterest and not from AOFIRS, I'm going to use a minus operator here, and I'm going to use this one as absolute and ensure that it is not bringing results from AOFIRS. Let's see what it's going to do. It's going to work just fine. Okay, so when we are using a minus operator or we are using an or, the site operators will function when you are restricting your search or giving it an option between two websites, or when you're telling the search that while you are getting your results from pinterest.com, don't get any results back from the site AOFIR. Generally, it is not necessary to do that, because when you're restricting something to this site, it is supposed to be having the meaning that everything has to be returned from this specific site of pinterest.com and nowhere else. So the minus generally is not necessary, but occasionally we don't want certain um, wordings to be present, like let's suppose this was the result, and I don't want the wordings CI. Let's see what else. Pinterest. I don't want anything to do with investigative research. Now the search will make more sense, and this is where the investigative research has disappeared, which was coming in the first 10 results previously. From site. Pinterest, 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 Pinterest. CRS certification, CRS certification, CRS certification. That's fine. And this is what I was telling you about. You can put edu. There should be a dot here. You can put it within quotes. This is the best way of writing it. When you are using .edu and put it within quotations after site, this is going to give you better results, more results versus just using edu or .edu. You can also apply site operator in this manner, where let's suppose the link says that cnn.com/business. So you are making sure that the search is looking, uh, search is not just restrained to .com. What site operator does is that it basically is going to entertain the information not only about the main website but also its subfolder. So it is going to include like /business, something that we noted down from the CNN right here. As you could see that the one of the links in CNN says cnn.com/business. So you can use this portion easily against next to the site. So it is directing it to go into the business portion of CNN and find information there. So it becomes more better, more precise, and you can use it in a way that it applies in the search. Oh, it's already there. So let's just click on this. It found three results from the business section: CNN, the wording Warren Buffett successor 2021. But when it comes to dates, I want to emphasize that it's best to always give it a date range. In using the site operator, it is considering the partial link, which is the main domain /Europe. So it is a European version. The examples we are using right now is mostly the kinds that we have applied in the search, like most of the time, as more um, based on our experience with what is being used to search the information pages. We sort of apply it with the operators that we use commonly. So with site, we sometimes have to use it like this. So if you want a European edition, I'm going to use /Europe, knowing that this is how the link is set for CNN website. If I'm going to put / something that doesn't exist in the URL part of it, it won't be able to execute the search. So knowing for a fact that the word Europe is part of the link that is set exactly the way it is laid out here is what's going to ensure that the search is going to default onto this or related pages that are set like this. We don't want to use the word in URL over here for a reason, because in URL is basically confining it to the URL part alone, but the site is going to search for everything that is within the site, all the pages that are contained inside of this subfolder Europe. So that's why we use site. The word 2021 does not necessarily have to be part of the operator site. So I want you to know that even though it is showing in the site right here, but see at the same time it is showing in the description part as well. So not necessary that unless there was something that says supposing over here there was a / without gap 2021 was written, then it will be very specific to this link, not necessarily searching for the dates that's shown here as part of the news, in the description area. The coronavirus and France. Okay, so these are the rest of the wordings. Um, and if it is an article we are looking for, the international edition of CNN, we write edition.cn. So you have to be familiar with the site link setup, like how the links are running. Once you know that this is the convention they are using, or their programmer have designed their pages to attach themselves with the address bar links that are showing up in a certain manner, a certain way, you should copy it and think of it as the instructions that would remain consistent for rest of the pages inside of that site. So if it's a large size, knowing the convention, we know that edition.cnn.com, for example, is a subdomain, and that is going to show information or news coming from international edition versus, let's say, US edition. So we are going to write it like this. And then from the same links, we find that backslash is followed by the category, like if there are articles or if there is news, whatever it is, it's going to show up the way it's written here, all the way from uh, edition.cnn.com to the word article as one single search phrase. So we can write it like this with the site colon, and rest of it is the same. So not a problem. This way we'll be getting our information from the articles area, and we are sure that it is going to be an article and not just a news. And then there are several ways of finding things uh, in the social media portals when we use site. For instance, in this one we are using linkedin.com, and we're trying to find the name Paul Daniels. We can just run it like this quickly and get directly to it. Okay. Facebook.com, the name is there. If we want to query the groups, it has it works in a similar way as in URL does, except that, as I mentioned to you, that there's a difference between using in URL and site. In URL is specific to one link, or that link that is totally specified as if it is being queried, or targeted. Whereas when we are using site colon, we are talking about all the pages or different areas of that site, including subdomain, wherever it may be. As long as it is attached to the main domain name of that site, it will reveal itself. So it doesn't have to be like backslash groups, but normally when we are looking for a certain area, for instance, in facebook.com, backslash groups would take us to the groups area, or where the wordings are found inside of this domain of facebook.com, which is specific to the group. Let's try to run this. These are old queries, and these social media platform, they keep changing the links. So I'm not sure, but I'm going to try it here. Okay. See, it defaulted onto the group. So if I click on this, it will take me to the group of Internet Research Specialists. See, it has taken me to AOFIRS, and it is the group. This is the group we have in Middle East somewhere. Similarly, if we took another example, mm, take an example of this. Now, this query for the word Internet Research means that we have actually started to make some changes in the link or the site, where we have used ZH-CN. ZH is used for China. CN is used for China. ZH is the language. I believe that those are the abbreviations. So once you go and find out what the language is used, or how the acronyms or abbreviations are used for certain regions where the Facebook is defaulting on finding information or groups from that part of the world, you may want to add things like the ones that I'm just showing you. So let me just try it. These, as I said, these are old links, and not sure if it's going to work, but the concept should be clarified, and the utilization of site with the colon and all these abbreviations should be something you can remember and find useful. So I found in Facebook all these groups. uh, ZH, okay, it's coming from China, or Facebook groups Taiwan, I don't know, but those are the abbreviations. So if let's suppose the abbreviation is from the English speaking countries. Which one is this? India. Okay, let's try India and run the entire search. I'm going to find all the groups in India Facebook that has the word internet research in it. So this could be really useful when we are doing quick search for the groups that relate to internet research. Site, Facebook. This is all coming from India. Internet research specialist. You can even find job opportunities here. So if it is a group that you're looking for, and by the way, it's better sometimes when you don't exactly remember if the singular or plural is used, go to the Facebook itself, just write facebook.com India, and when you look at the links, you can see while searching for the groups in there, if they have used it with the singular or plural in their link at the top, so that you know or you're definite about to use it as a plural or singular. If not, then I would go like this instead and write it group as an option and run it. So it is groups mostly. In India, it's with an S. Okay, what else? I have to I have to stop right now because I have to go for an appointment, doctor's appointment today. I don't want to be late, so I'll see you guys on Mondays. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your evening and stay well. Okay. I've got some of my very close friends getting struck with this situation of COVID and all that. Especially some of the people offshore that I know of, including my very close family relationship. They're getting affected now for some reason. One of them actually had the vaccination done already, and I'm surprised that sort of that's my uncle, like very close uncle, and he got sick even after vaccination, and that is like he has had his vaccination done. What is it called? AstraZeneca. Those are the people who made that vaccine, and he has had that inoculation done about 2 months, almost 2 months ago, like in the earlier stages. Now he's got the COVID, so that's kind of weird, and I don't know why they're not showing it in the news. All right, thank you very much. Bye, Glenn. Bye, Makita. Take care of yourself. See you on Monday.
Okay, you too.
Any questions? I'm sorry, I didn't ask. If there's any question, I can still answer for you with the site operator or anything we discussed.
No, everything was clear.
Okay.
Thanks.
All
Yeah, it
right.
was very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eh? Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Have a good weekend. Bye bye.